I posted a handout describing decision tree for selecting statistical analysis method. I'm going to walk you through to see how you would be able to use this decision tree to select the appropriate analysis method to conduct a statistical analysis. On the far left side here is asking, are you examining differences, means comparing mean differences between one sample and a population where the sample is coming from. So in this case, you are comparing a sample with an outside population using a benchmark. And if that is the case, it's a separate side. It uses one sample z-test here. In our textbook, it is called one sample t-test. It doesn't. So these are the two different names for one sampled t-test or z-test. The meaning of that is to compare the mean differences of one sample that the researcher collected data in comparison with an outside general population using the benchmark. For example, you can use Horizon students' weight mean to compare with the national student weight mean, or to Ohio student weight mean. So in that case, you are using a sample to compare with a population, that the sample is part of the population. Other than that, the bigger question in this decision tree that you have to answer is, are you examining the relationships between variables, or you are examining the differences between groups of one or more variables? So the relationship indicates you're only looking at whether they are related to one another, and if you are examining the differences, then that means you are comparing mean differences. So you really have to distinct these two verbiage. One is relationship, the other is differences. In this case, means comparing the mean differences between the two. So right now, we did not get into examining the relationship yet. On the far left side here, we are focusing on examining, comparing the mean differences. So you go to this right side right now, say right now I'm comparing mean differences between groups of one or more variables. And if this is comparing the mean, you are on the right place, and move on to say, are the same participants being tested more than once? If the same participants, you are doing repeated measure, if the participants are being tested more than once, you are doing repeated measure, you go to the far left side here, say, yes, I'm doing the repeated measure, the same participants are being tested more than once. Then it asks again, how many groups are you dealing with, or how many times they are being tested more than once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. If you say they are being tested 2 times, then that's 2 groups, time 1, time 2, because they are same participants, so that means there are 2 groups. Actually, they are meaning twice, the same group being tested twice. So in that regard, that's twice of the same group or 2 groups. And if that is the case, the repeated measure should be called a t-test for a dependent sample, because the same people are being tested 2 times. If the same people are being tested more than 2 times, you go to the right arrow here, the participants are being tested more than 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, then you use repeated measure analysis of variance. On the other side, if the same participants are not being tested more than once, which means the participants are only being tested once, like gender are being tested only once, then in this case you say no. Then if it asks you how many groups are you dealing with, are you dealing with 2 groups, are you dealing with 3 groups? If it's 2 groups, then it's test for independent sample. For example, we can say gender, it's male and female. We can say internet access is yes with access and no with no access. And if we can say the smokers and non-smokers, and that's only two groups. So in this case, if you are going to compare a mean with only two groups, then you use t-test for independent sample. Otherwise, if the group has more than two groups, for example, your grade level, you have 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, and you have four groups, then you are dealing more than two groups, you use simple analysis of variance. So for the same reason, if you wanted to compare the OAA test score between 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders, then you compare mean differences among four different groups. You use simple analysis of variance. In the Cron's book, How to Use SPSS Step-by-Step textbook, on the cover page, on the first page, just flip over on the cover page. There is a choosing the appropriate test in SPSS statistics, and it has a more comprehensive decision tree for you to use. The reading of that is still the same. It is divided into two. What is your main question? Are you comparing differences, or are you comparing relationship? And then you move on from there to go to the specific arrow to select the appropriate statistical analysis method. So for more complicated analysis method, the textbook gives you a more comprehensive choices. This one I gave you is more of a very simplified version for now. As the class moves, I will probably give you more decision tree of this type.